Good afternoon and welcome back. We are excited to be here with a brand new start, a brand new month, a brand new opportunity to talk about this mental health in the church and in our communities. Thank you for joining us. We ask that you continue to shed light, share the live, chime in, give us some comments, thoughts, all of that good stuff because they are important to us. We also need your voices. With your voices, we continue to push forward and push on. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Ready for this new adventure?
Yes, I'm ready. Glad to be back with everybody.
Awesome. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be back. It's wonderful. We took a little break to try to, get a new revamp on the mind and clear our mind and get some new things started and pumped up in this day and time because you can do too much and just overload your brain to where everything you try to say and do just repeats itself. And that's something we were not trying to do. Even though there are certain topics that you can continue to talk about for months on end about the same thing, we just hope to continue to bring something new. And if it's something that we need to repeat on, then we ask you let us know and we'll come back and we'll talk about it and share so that we all can get something great out of this thing. It says that if truth not be diffused, error will be. If God and his word are not known and received, the evil and his works will gain the ascendancy. If the power of the gospel is not felt throughout the length and breadth of the land, corruption and darkness will reign. We welcome you once again to the Agape Worship Center Total Man Initiative, where we try to talk about the fivefold when it comes to mental health. You have the head, which talks about the mental health itself, the hands, your financial health, the feet, your physical health, your heart, emotional health, and your belly, which talks about the spiritual health. And all these helps us become a total human. And this month we're here talking about the youth and the mental health of the youth and how much it matters. And I know that sometimes we tend to get off the subject and topics of the youth because we often would feel as if, oh, they'll get it. But we have to really reach down and get back into getting more involved in our youth and helping them to understand the things that they are missing and the things that we need from them in order to be who we're supposed to be, especially when we're talking about in the church, inside the church, outside the church, communities, and all. So we ask you to chime in, give us some pointers and tips. Let's talk. Let's see what are the issues and the concerns that are going on in our youth today. And we're talking about raising joyful children in an angry world because it all evolves around our world is full of anger, and we're trying to find ways of how to raise joyful children. Because you feel as if you can raise joyful children, then everything else can come into play. You will have, they will have more tools of how to defeat the anger, not be as mad or not be as complicated. One of the questions we want to talk about is how do we know what the youth in the church need? How can we encourage our youth? And the third question is, what are the challenges of a youthful life? These are how we want to steer our conversation tonight in these three questions. Again, you can go back and you can look at them. And if you need to see these or you need me to send them to you, I'll be more than welcome, more than happy to send them to you. First Timothy 4:12 says, let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. What does the youth need from the church? Jada, and even though I have these five things up here, I just want you to kind of tell me how you feel.
I think that one, the youth needs somebody that's going to listen and actually take in what they're saying and try to help either implement what they're saying they need or uh, further explain things that they're confused about or don't have an understanding on. and kind of try to see things from our perspective, our point of view, and don't be so judgmental. You know, just kind of remember that you were once young. So just kind of go back to that, you know, young mindset and put yourself in their shoes and try to understand them better.
Okay. So they need a voice.
For sure.
They need a voice. They need someone to listen to. And the things I have up here says they need a place with Jesus. And that's in getting an understanding of who Jesus is to us, and being truthful about it. Because some people, they say they love Jesus, they say they know Jesus, but do they really love Jesus? And the kids, and I say the kids, they can see it. They can see that you're not being authentic. They can see that you're not being real in how you truly say that you love Jesus, and the things that by your actions, especially when you leave the church, you go home, and then the words that come out of your mouth change. Your actions change, and not confusing that with, you know, giving your kids, you know, punishment for whatever. But there are still certain things that those kids can see, or kids or youth can see, that it's not the same as what you talked about when you was in church. Mm-hmm. Now we also have to understand that, you know, parents do get angry, they do get upset, but at the same time, it's that one is those moments is when the kids come back and say, "See, I told you wasn't this. I told you wasn't that." But there still has to be an understanding of what's really going on in that moment. And number two was adults who care. And I do believe that they can tell the difference from adults who care and those who don't care in this society. And I know that you have been talking to some youth about these topics and the things that are going on. And have you encountered anyone that said they just have, you know, their parents just don't care?
Not if they not that they don't care, but when you're talking to your parents, the way they respond, you very well may care, but the way you present your response makes the child never want to say anything else to you.
Okay. So in parenting, no matter what, and I'm saying no matter what, we have to make sure that we respond in a way that's receiving, and not just out of anger, frustration, or I really don't want to talk about this topic right now. And I do understand and believe that, because when you try to give an answer to something and you brush that person off, it will make them not want to come back and, like you said, ask that question or discuss these things again, because they feel like they don't care in the first place. So why am I even concerned about trying to bring that subject up to you, you know, again? And it could be something that's very important that child needs to talk about or discuss.
I have to remember, even in my classroom, that children have feelings too.
Okay.
And they have real emotions. And if you don't allow them that safe space to express them, then they'll keep it bottled up, they'll lash out, or, you know, whatever. So just remember that kids have feelings just as real as your feelings. And the same way you want to be heard, make sure you're listening to them in that same way.
Do you find it difficult to decipher them playing on your sincerity versus them just being mischievous?
Yeah.
So you learn the kids as it goes on, because you know that they'll end up just playing on your emotions.
But most kids, especially when they're not getting that listening ear at home, it's very easy to tell, okay, you really need me. And most kids don't have that listening ear at home. So it's really not hard, because everybody wants to be heard.
So is it safe to say that most youth feel like the church don't give them that place to belong now?
Yeah. And it's just hard to kind of be, okay, let them talk without being judgmental, but also them trying to teach you the right way, especially with a generation that think they know everything. So
which generation is that?
Me. it's hard for people that mentors or anybody to kind of go kind of decipher between the I'm going to tell you what's right, but I'm also going to listen to you and let you talk. And it's really hard to kind of receive that too sometimes.
So how have you dealt with, and since you brought that up, how have you dealt with being right and knowing that you're not always right? When trying to deal with youth, younger kids.
It's hard. You just have to listen, and sometimes you have to let them learn the hard way.
Okay.
Because like my dad said, some lessons are about lessons.
Absolutely.
You gotta pay for something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think life is a very good teacher, and sometimes people need life to teach them lessons because they don't want to listen.
Okay. Lady Lisa, do you think that we give youth authenticity?
So I don't know if I'm speaking from a parent's perspective when I say, we all want such great things for our kids, and we see them as being, little people that can be shaped and molded into greatness, right? So when they start falling off that path of the way that we think that they should go, then we just want to snatch them back up and, try to shake some sense into them.
Right.
Does that always work? No. But then we have to just keep in mind that, everybody is created for a particular person, and you got to learn how. It's definitely a learning process, not only for the child, but for the adult as well. That's whether it's their caregiver or that's over them at that particular time, could be their teacher even. You have to understand that kids have their own uniqueness about themselves. We were all fearfully and wonderfully made, and that does not mean that we were fearfully and wonderfully made in our image, but in the image of God. So we have to let them grow. I am not saying, though, that everything that they want to do, they should be allowed to do. But if it's within reason, why not? They are only going to be children once in their lifetime. So creating a space where they shouldn't feel all the time, I know I can't do this. Like they got to be in a box all the time. I am not saying let that box be so expanded, because some things, you experience that you don't recover from. So, if the Bible tells us to train up a child in the way that they should go, you put the training, you put the fear of God inside of them, and you just watch and see, and you're there as almost like a coach. You're on the sideline as a coach. So sometimes even when we see them going astray, just kind of reel them back in with love and talk to them like they really are a person, because they are not. Don't do that. Not everything doesn't have to be so harshly said, but training them up in love.
So I think that harshness comes from, things that we have not recovered from as parents. Not being taught how to reconcile, not being taught how to apologize, not being taught how to understand that, there's some things that I didn't get correct or right. But let me try to fix it. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier. That will make those children or whoever not want to come back to you and ask another question again, because all they know is you're going to snap at them. And with, not even having an understanding of why, they just know that you're going to snap.
I heard this saying once before. Children sometimes don't necessarily remember what you said to them, but how you made them feel by what you said to them. So I think that this kind of resonates with a child's as they grow up, and whether the person was saying it in love, it's the tone that you say it in. It's the action that you show behind that.
Right.
That lets a child know, how genuine and sincere you are. But really, if you would just remember back to the time when you were a child, I mean, some of us, it was a long time ago that we were a child, but you were at least a child once before in your lifetime. Remember how certain things made you feel. So don't inflict that same pain, and you still trying to recover from it now that you are an adult, well over into your adult stage. Don't send another child out like that, and leave them in a state to where now they have to trying to recover from the damage that you did to them because you were hurt at one point.
Absolutely. So we have to know that they need a place with Jesus. They need to know that we care. They have to have a place to belong, because if they don't feel included in anything, they're not going to want to come back. They're not going to want to serve. They're not going to want to do anything. And then we also have to show them that we are authentic, that, this is real. This is what I believe in. And there's no changing it no matter what.
And kids can see through that, boy.
Absolutely.
They'll tell you right quick.
They would.
She ain't right. Yeah.
Right.
You almost think they was a prophet. But it's out of the mouth of babes, though.
Right. And here we are with the youth. We can't put it all on the youth, but the church needs the youth.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the youth, then it's like the church is not prospering. So we have to, and what we try to do is try to find things that the youth are interested in, so that we can talk and try to figure out ways of how to bring them, how to get them closer to the church, how to let them understand that, we do want them here. We want to know how to keep you involved, and just to know, hey, you know what? It's not all about us. Right. It's about y'all, because we got to teach you how to get here. Because if we're not doing it, then we're truly not being authentic. We're not really teaching the understanding of what Jesus Christ said, loving the children, teaching them and showing them the way. Because if they don't get it here in the church, then they're going to go out there in the streets. Because just like, right now in this day and age, young people are bombarded with social media that is overloading their brains with things that they can't even process. And in them trying to process it, they are just the information overload. It just does not help them to understand the basic needs of life.
Right.
So now they got everything at the tip of their hands. They feel like they know even more now. Well, I can just Google it, and that's what's true.
That's what I was thinking. Siri, help me. Help me navigate through life, because my parents won't. My teachers won't.
Right.
My sisters and brothers, they don't have time for me. So, they gonna get it one way or the other.
Pastor Sam, as a pastor, why do you need the youth in the church?
The youth is the life of the church. Without the youth, it won't take long for your church to die. The adults can only do so much, but it's the generation that's coming behind them, the generation that we're concerned about, because once again, that keeps the cycle.
Right.
People live, they die, and they be born, and it's a cycle. So youth is a vital part of the ministry. And a lot of times, as churches and church leaders, sometimes we forget about the youth, because as leaders, sometimes we look at the people that can support financially. We look at things like that, and we focus on those people because financially they're essential for the ministry, but we forget that those people are gonna die. And if we didn't invest enough in the youth when they get to that age, then they go elsewhere. So you have to make sure that you incorporate, inspire, create, like you saying, be authentic, authentic because Children emulate what they see.
Absolutely.
So if you got bad children, you got bad parents.
Somewhere.
You know, so that's pretty much how it works. And then not only that, but children desire to be disciplined.
Mhm.
A lot of people fail to understand that children really want to be, they really want to be disciplined. The Bible said, you know, about you know, don't fail to chastise, because that chastisement is the one thing that's gonna keep them in line. So, you know, we think of chastisement as a punishment. Is how you chastise.
Right.
There's a lot of us, we don't understand how to chastise.
Right.
We fuss, we beat, with no explanation.
Mhm.
The only explanation you get is that you bad or you was wrong.
Right.
I'm whooping you because you was wrong. Well, explain to me what errors and what steps did I make that was wrong? You know, and I often hear parents say, you know better than that.
Yeah.
But they see you do it.
Mhm.
And when they do it out in public, they supposed to know better than that. Well, if you let them do it at home, then what do you expect? And public, and that comes with the training.
Mhm.
Training don't start outside. Training starts on the inside. So it's vitally important that we definitely not just make them a part of the ministry, but actually show them and congratulate the parts that they play.
I remember getting whoopings, and Mama said, I'm doing this because I love you. But at that time, it didn't feel
like no love.
It didn't feel like.
And you know what I was thinking about as you were talking, Pastor Sam? I was thinking about youth bring an energy to the church. They bring a whole nother vibe
Right.
to the church.
Absolutely.
And you know, we need that. We need that for balance
Right.
within the church, because everything can't be so uptight,
Mhm.
uptight, and we need to tap into that
Right.
inner youth, and kids will bring that out of you. They'll have you rolling around on the floor with them, or and it'll make you not think so hard about your knees bothering you, or
Right.
what's really ailing you. But you can see a child smile or come up and give you a hug,
Mhm.
and that can change your
changes.
whole mood. That can change the whole environment. And so I like that about the little people.
And I really love the fact that Pastor Sam do it all the time. When the kids, the youth, the little babies come through and they dance or they want to do this, he allowed them to be free to do so much out there, just to let them, instead of saying get these babies and sit them down. You have to let them be kids, because that's the only way they're going to express themselves. And who knows, it may be an angel inside, right beside them, showing them how to step and how to walk and what to say and all this good stuff. So, like you said, to bring that extra energy into your church, because it's what we need. Now, another thing, we have to make sure we encourage them, because we can do all these things and saying these things, but encouraging them can be difficult, because sometimes we can't encourage ourselves. So we got to understand and know how to encourage our youth and then ourselves as well in the process, because we got to encourage ourselves to be able to do it. It can be difficult because sometimes we feel as if, oh, we don't need it. Involve them in the services.
No, the thing is, well, that's what they're supposed to be doing anyway.
Now that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
That's true, but they don't have to.
they don't have to.
And I think that's what we have to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge the fact that they don't have to. They choose to.
Right.
So when they choose to,
They was made.
They should be right. But
they did it.
There should be some type of bonus. And that's one of the reasons why, I try to acknowledge our youth, because I want them to know that serving God pays off. Right. Regardless whether it's financially, naturally, spiritually, whatever, it pays off. And you should be congratulated when it's time to be congratulated.
Right.
You should be disciplined when it's time to be disciplined, and you should be loved at all times.
Absolutely.
Because the Bible speaks about, with love and kindness have I drawn men. So it's with the love that you're going to draw the children, but children naturally love anyway.
Right.
So how can you not love when all they really trying to show is love? And then on the other time, when they really ain't acting all that great, They're really looking for attention.
Mhm.
So if you reward them with the right type of attention, then they would,
Okay.
you know, my father, when I was young, I never forget that he used to carry our report cards in his wallet. And it was just the idea that he carried them in his wallet. And every time, you know, family function or something, he would pull out those report cards. Let me show y'all what my baby's doing in school.
Right.
And he never had to say, do your homework, because the reward of good grades was him putting your report card in his wallet and showing it.
Right.
So it was almost like he was using cross psychology,
Mhm.
you know, to make us do our work and make us make good grades, because we wanted the reward was him boosting, him bragging on you. Oh, my kid smart.
Right.
What your kid doing? And you know, the other folks be like, well,
I ain't got mine. They was showing
we ain't showing no report card. That boy up in there, he ain't doing nothing. So I remember that though.
Yeah.
Even
from
it stuck with me. And I'm in my 50s now, but you know, that stuck with me from when I was like 5 and 6.
Right.
My early stages of getting report cards. I remember that. And I remember my father bragging about it. So it changes a whole lot. And you never know how small seeds
That's right.
that you plant in a child. You never know how it will impact their life.
Right.
How grow even.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So encouraging our youth, how do you encourage the youth that are, in comparison to how you were encouraged coming up to now you seeing the youth that need encouragement? Is there a difference?
I think my encouragement was sometimes, I'm sure I was encouraged, positive, but I don't have like a memory that sticks out when it comes to encouragement.
I can understand that.
We were rewarded for good grades. So, I mean, I guess we worked hard to get that money at the end.
And that can be encouragement.
Yeah, but it seems like we just did the right thing. My parents may disagree, but it just seems like we just did the right thing. Like we didn't have to get a lot of whoopings. So, you know, that we were rewarded throughout because we just did the right thing.
But see, that's what she don't realize. She grew up fortunate, and I'm not saying that we was perfect parents, all right, by any means. But she grew up fortunate because what we did is we took the positive things from our upbringing and we incorporated it into our kid. And that's the reason she can sit here and say, I don't know. But the reason she had good grades is because she was geared
the environment
in the right environment that was conducive to good grades. The reason that they didn't really get in trouble is because they was in an environment that was conducive to good behavior. You know, so that's what and that's fortunate, but all children don't, you know, are not that fortunate.
I was really thinking about not what Jada was saying, but how many children, whether you are in a leadership position, whatever form of leadership position or authoritative position you're in over a child's life, how sometimes just good job, how that goes such a long way with them, because at home they don't necessarily get that. Or maybe if their self-esteem is low, because they could be compared to another child, another sibling all the time. So you taking the time out to personalize something just for me, man, I really must be doing something right. And every time I do something right, I'm going to come back to you because you are the one who sees me. That's all they want. They want to be seen. They want to be known. That's attention too. So they want to be seen, noticed, and heard.
A lot of kids do have like that low self-esteem when it comes to like when they succeed at something. They're just down about it, or they don't like celebrate themselves. So I find myself like over encouraging, like even the small things, like you wrote your name right, like good job, just so they'll know like I am doing something right, whether it's, it don't have to be something really big for me to recognize and encourage, them, or say good job, but even the small things, like you are doing something.
And I can even say parents with children who have special needs, they need that too. They need to feel like if even this little small thing makes me feel normal, they need that encouragement. They need that pat on the back, or they need that extra hug and kiss, just so they feel like I matter.
So and this is like, I'm not comparing kids to animals, but it's amazing how you can see people today and how they encourage their dogs. Because nowadays this world is so full of, people that love dogs. You see them in Lowe's, you see them in Walmart, going to these different stores, and they encourage their dogs to behave. They encourage their dogs to,
they get a treat.
So I think is a lot of times we feel like, well, I don't have to give you a treat because I pay your light bill, I pay this, I do this, I do this, I do this.
Do the same thing for the dog.
Yeah, but they do the same thing for the dog, and then you still have to clean up behind the dog. You still have to do this for the dog. But it's like if we incorporate that mindset into our children, and this is a teaching lesson for me, we incorporate that mindset into our children, then we can also change things. Because with those animals, they can't tell you that they're hungry. Guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna feed them because Now they will tell you they're hungry. They're gonna act up. They're gonna bark, stuff like that. But for the most part, that, well, let me give my dog some water because the dog can't get no water. But your kids is like, well, you better go get some water. Just
where it's at.
Right. Just those simple things. But it's like we have to change our mindset in order to encourage our youth.
Man, that's such a powerful point that you just made. I don't know if you realize it, but I personally have never really thought about it like that. But every day I go home, I got 3 dogs. Every day I go home, pinto up something. Paper or something makes me so mad. But you know what I do? I get my rake and I rake the paper up and I pick it up and clean up after me. But every day they're gonna do it, and they do it for attention. And I clean up after them. Because in my mind I'm saying, really all they want is some attention.
Right. Yep.
So if we would have the same, if we would have the same, instead of scolding our children, if we would understand the things that they really don't know better,
right,
when we assume that they should know better, because that's what we'll say, something like, you know better than this. And we would sometimes we would physically beat our children, but we won't physically beat our animals.
Right.
Because we'll give our animals the benefit of the doubt. Well, really, they just being a dog, just being a dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's bored. Well, your child's bored too. But you take a switch or whatever, instead of talking to your child, because that dog, he'll tear that paper up and you'll put him in your lap.
Now you know better.
Yeah, that's right. Don't do no better, Fluffy. And you rub Fluffy down until Fluffy sit there and go to sleep in your lap. And that's positive reinforcement for bad behavior.
Right.
But we'll accept it from an animal, but we won't accept it from a human being that we created.
But you know what I think with that, because I was just listening to you, the thing with that is you will give the dog is seeking attention, but that means with the child, that means you actually got to give them attention, because you can walk away from that animal after you can pet him for a minute, but you actually got to spend some time. That means you got to change some things. And now you actually have to sit down and pay some attention and listen to what the child wants or needs, or you actually physically got to do something. So that means not only does the change have to come through the child, but you as well. You got to do something different too. And that's part of what I see sometimes as problematic. I don't want to do it. Yeah, they ought to know better. Did you teach them better? Did you show them better? Did you give them an understanding of what better looks like? No, you just say, you know better. When did I pick this up? Did I pick? You were waiting on me to pick that up from my teacher. Maybe she hadn't gotten to that lesson yet, or maybe that's not her job. That wasn't part of her job. So when do I get to that better stage? Do I just grow up saying or having it replayed in my mind? You know better. I haven't seen better. You haven't taught me better. So as parents, we gotta kind of scale back sometimes and look at the role we're playing in our child's life and how we are shaping them and molding them into these what we want to be productive adults.
Right.
So I wonder, is the question then the level of patience that we have? Should we be more patient with our children? Once again, just using the analogy that you brought up, should we have the same amount of patience for our children that we have for our pets? Because she was talking about you can walk away, but some animals are house pet. You can't walk away.
They're gonna follow you.
Some of them are just like you take them to work.
Yeah.
You they go to daycare. All of these things. So some of them are treated better.
Oh yeah.
Some of them are treated better than our children. They eat better. They dress better. They just.
And you say nothing when that dog food costs $30 one walk.
Just
Right, one walk. But when your child goes to the restaurant, you got a limit. You're not getting that unless you're paying for it yourself. But the animal, because they didn't go in the store with you necessarily and pick out that particular.
I know, dog.
I know, but you bought the dog.
T-bone. Tomahawk.
And then I'll say it's only certain brands that they like.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, they won't eat that.
Pedigree.
No, my cat don't like that.
So I got rid of my German Shepherds because of that. Because I would only feed them that German Shepherd brand dog food, and it was $45 for a 20-pound bag. And I was like, oh no. And of course they need attention.
Right.
And because I was on the road a lot, I could not give them the attention they require.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, they're gonna tear up stuff.
Right.
They're gonna try to find a way to get out of pen. They're gonna do whatever they can to destroy just so that you can give them some attention.
That's right.
And I think it's what our kids do too.
So
they do.
Going back to what Jada was saying about her upbringing. Once again, I'm not bragging. But that was a lot of the reason, because they got the attention.
Right.
They got, we went to all the little raggedy soccer games and
let it be known, I did not want to play soccer. So
she wasn't good anyway.
Glad they was out there.
She wasn't good at all. I was the loudest parent. out there, and she was horrible. She was horrible, but I was still out. Because when you're rearing your children and you really want them to have, you
want them to be well-rounded.
Right. And so you make the sacrifices. You make the necessary sacrifices so they can have the experiences. So when they get older, at least they can say, I experienced that.
Right.
I tried that. And my parents, they let me try this. We did the dance, and I think the only thing they probably didn't do is karate. And I tried to teach them that at home. So it didn't work out too good. The one fight that somebody got tore up. So that didn't really work out all.
Talk about me.
That didn't work out all that well. But that's I think that's how to really encourage our children means that we're gonna have to take the necessary time.
Yes.
We're gonna have to make the necessary investments, the necessary sacrifices.
Yeah.
All of the above has to be put in, because you got to think about it. The Bible say, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. God loved man so much because man was created in his image. And when God looks at man, he looks at himself. So quite naturally, if you love yourself, then you're gonna love your creation. Right. So I just don't understand parents that can create a child and not love the child as much. Maybe they don't love themselves, right, but I don't see how they can't put all of the energy that they can possibly have, make all of the sacrifices that they can possibly make to make the mini me as great or greater than I've ever been. So it's always been my desire that my children surpass me at a certain point in their life, because I've given them everything that I've got inside of me to make them better than me.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about just biological children. I'm just talking. I think about children like that we, and I'm not saying like that we rule over, but that we have under our that's part of us. Right. That's affiliated with us. There's children in general that we come into contact with, because sometimes even we go down to the daycare. At that point, when we're there with them, they're looking for that same love and attention. You know, really, y'all, if we would spend a little more time loving on them and showing them that godly love and just some genuine love, maybe we can prevent or cut down on some of this violence, some of this human trafficking, or some of these girls and guys that are very promiscuous, because they're looking, kids are looking and searching for something that they're lacking. But don't let love be the thing that they're lacking because they didn't get it when they came across you.
So how can the church help the youth claim a vital faith? And that's trying to make sure that once they get there, we get them in the church and get them to understanding the truth about Jesus Christ and all that. We have to make sure that we honor the spirituality of the youth, because the youth have something to bring. You know, you may look at it as, oh, they're just in the church and the dance they're doing is not really a dance, but you never know what that dance is releasing. You never know what those words they're babbling as a baby could be releasing. Can they understand? No, but the Holy Spirit can do whatever the Holy Spirit wants to do and get into anybody. We have to equip the parents to nurture the children's faith. And that's a lot of the problem too. Some parents just don't know how to deal with their children.
Because they don't have enough faith. They don't have enough of the word down inside of them. And then I even would suggest that we learn how to meet kids where they are. Don't put them in, okay, so why can't they start a children's choir? Why they don't go straight to the adult choir? You want them to sing way up there when they haven't even been taught the foundation. All they, like, if let them start out where they at, instead of already propelling them already to the big. They got to sit in on the grown people class. They got to, find some space for them where they can actually be a kid.
It's very interesting to see, kids going this way in the choir.
Maybe they ain't got no rhythm.
We did it growing up. It took you a while to get that rhythm going, so you can be, on one accord and look pretty, but it takes some practice. But you're absolutely right. And that same thing is addressing the youth Christian education, teaching them the way, not giving them $5,000 words when they don't understand $2 words.
You absolutely
give them what they need, give them enough food for them to eat so they can be all right. And as you were saying, make worship service meaningful for them. Because sometimes they don't. They just there and they don't want to understand what's going on. And that's something that we have to try to do ourselves, is give them something so that they can understand and they can know. Have a young youth person, speak, on Sundays and talk to the youth in a way.
But that becomes a lot of the issue. A lot of the issues that we don't want to take the time to build the organizational needs for the children. Or as an organization, we don't really want to take the the time and the resources.
Because that requires extra.
It does. It requires extra.
Right.
And a lot of times that's the reason that a lot of them will get left behind, or they don't, because most of us are not equipped.
The extra is not there.
It's either not there, or we're not equipped, or we don't have the manpower, which falls upon the being equipped, or really the desire.
Right.
Who wants to do it? Because most of the parents, if they deal with their children at home, they don't want to deal with their children when they come to church, because they're coming to express
Get something.
themselves, or to get energized, or to just get a word. And a lot of times the distraction of still being the parent in the sanctuary, it becomes a hindrance.
Right. And I've heard some teachers say that when I come to church, I don't want to, I don't want to be around kids no more, because I want to be fed, But it's just all about us trying to figure out a way to make it better. What say you?
Yeah. When I come to church, don't make me go to church and we'll listen, because I don't want to.
See that? Even if the teachers that teach the children don't want to teach them at church, maybe we need to flip it.
You want to teach the adults?
I don't want to teach nobody.
Maybe we need to flip it.
Have to turn
How so?
their lesson plans for the week.
Take the people that's dealing with grown-ups all day, put them with the children, and take the people that dealing with children all day, put them with the grown-ups. Turn it around, flip it around. Maybe somebody will preach for me, then I can preach to the children.
What say you?
I don't know. It's a conundrum. I mean, it's definitely
It's a work in progress.
it is.
But it's worth putting the time into,
Definitely.
because kids still need to be trained. They need
Oh,
to be trained in the way that they should go. So you can't, because I know I've heard, like, once you transition over to the adult class, I know we all know this story because it was taught in Sunday school or vacation Bible school. But if nobody took the time out with the kids, you can't say that they know the story, because they don't know the story, because nobody taught them the story.
Right.
And you lose a lot of that. You lose a lot. We don't see a lot of the the vacation Bible school like we used to. We don't see the children's classes in churches, because one thing, everything we have to be mindful enough to understand that COVID has brought about a change as to the way we used to do church. But we can't stray away so far that we lose the total foundation that we grew up on. And I think that's what we have to understand, because everything is put together, because now we're short amount of time. Everything has been kind of condensed. That's the word I'm looking for. It's been condensed to a degree that you're trying to get it in and out at a decent time. So now, how do we incorporate what we used to be able to do with the time? Church on Sundays, church used to be 2.5 hours. At least on Sunday. You're gonna have Sunday school, which was gonna be an hour and a half of Sunday school, and then you was going to go into Sunday service after Sunday school, which was probably another hour and a half.
Right.
So normally on Sundays we will be looking at from 9 to 12.
Right.
8:30 to 12. It was somewhere in there, but now we're looking at 11 to 12. 11 to 12:15. So where do we get the training? Where does the children get the training? Where does the children get the teaching? Where they get all of the necessary foundational tools, to be able to adapt and grow as they get older, when we've condensed the time in such a small amount that we barely have time for ourselves.
Right.
And so now church has become church for seasoned folk.
That know the word,
that already know, they know how to get to where the church starts. And we've left the children out.
Absolutely. Yep.
And until we find how to regain that, we're gonna lose a whole church.
because it starts to dwindle, and they get less interested in. Well, we got to go. We ain't been here. You know, it only what last time it was only an hour. Why is it an hour and 15 minutes this time? So yeah, you're right. We have it's something that we have in our minds that has to change as well. But I think we'll get there. We just got to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing to fix it. So the challenges of a youthful life, and as I said earlier, there are so many things that our youth face, especially with internet access. Internet access has given them an array of things that they can see. So many things that they can see and do their hands on. The porn industry has grown to a mega multi-billion-dollar industry because
That
of
wasn't just for the youth. It's
right.
Yeah.
It has, and it has caused the sexual addiction in the children, and it's not just the intercourse. It's the talk, the songs, the music, the videos, the TV shows.
Just
it is
being
turning
subject to
right. It is turning to that's all you see now. Cartoons, and it was like I never thought that. Maybe my mind wasn't there when I was a kid. I didn't know what they were doing. And now I'm gonna look at some of these cartoons like, man, these kids are, do you really have to have a six-year-old kissing, another 6-year-old in a TV show or a cartoon? Is that really necessary? But it's there. Drug addiction. Drug addiction has spiked.
And then too, you know what I just wanted to say about the whole internet, because it just seems like it, and it doesn't matter if it's a Apple iPad, a tablet of some sort. All households got them.
Right.
And so if that is what you're allowing to entertain your child because you don't want to deal with them, then you are putting your child in a place to where, you know how it starts off, they looking at the cartoons. And it's always going to be some kind of ad that's going to pop up. What's that? We're just talking about kids. They mind get intrigued. There they go, pushing it. They go swipe.
Dopamine levels get
because they're curious. And you sitting over there playing on your phone or doing whatever you doing, and they got their whole attention. So
and they quiet.
And they ain't bothering you, and you ain't bothering them.
That's when you have to be careful. When they quiet, they doing something they don't need to be doing. But the ads, like you said, are triggered, are geared towards certain things. So our children, even if they're good children, they still subject.
Oh yeah.
And because they're subject to it, it has to be addressed.
Right.
It's not that we're trying to put our children in a sexual situation or being sexually advanced at early ages, but because they're subject to it, then you have to address it at an early age.
Because the enemy still comes to kill, steal, and destroy, even your babies. And so he's gonna plant the seed is gonna be planted early. So then how that seed is planted and then it's watered, it's up to you to nip it in the bud. And start limiting the amount of time that they are on these devices. Don't say you finished your homework. Well, you can go because school is starting back up. You finish your homework, you can get back on your tablet until it's time to go to bed or whatever. Look at all the hours, and that could be hours.
You don't rush through the homework.
Right, because I know that's my reward, right?
3 questions. But they through. So
they done.
So they didn't get on that iPad.
Oh, yeah.
So that once again, you have to take the time because there's parental, you can put
parental controls. But but the thing about even with the parental controls, so I'm not monitoring that if I'm over there doing my own thing.
That's true.
I catch up with that maybe
and
when
some
I
of these
get
kids
done.
are smart.
Oh yeah.
They learn to work around
it
because they have other kids at school. So all you got to do is this, and this will happen.
Every generation is supposed to get smarter.
And they do.
Let them kids read books when they get done with their homework. Because let me tell you, the reading scores ain't hot. So let them read a book. That'll give
That's gonna cause them to get sleepy right fast.
good.
Good.
Oh,
They
my
need-
God.
They need a nap.
Bedtime.
They need it.
Bedtime.
But it's true. And only
I
we
love
can
that.
control that.
Yep,
And once again, that goes back to being a parent.
a proactive parent.
You have to be responsible for this gift, this life that you brought into this world, which is your biggest ministry. You're responsible.
Right.
You're responsible. And if you chose to create this life, then it's your obligation to make sure that not only do you protect it, you honor it, you build it, you nurture it. All of these things, that's part of your responsibility, naturally and spiritually. That's your responsibility. We need to not only, we're talking about encouragement, but what about encouraging your child in the ministry that you see over their life?
Mm-hmm.
You see the call, you see the talent, you see the gifts. Why not encourage that from a child, from a youth?
Right.
And then as they get older, it would be so much easier to fall into your call if I knew that I was going to be a not me personally, but if my child was going to be a missionary, if I saw that call in them,
Mm-hmm.
why not feed them the word?
Right.
Because I'm knowing that at some point, if it's in them, it's going to come out when they need it. So why not feed that? We feed everything else.
Absolutely.
So why not feed our children what we really see the need? And some of us say things like, man, that's just too much. I saw a child, 5 years old, already know 5 languages, plays the piano. You see what I'm saying? And all of this was because when they was a baby, their parent took out the time to say, okay, now we're gonna study Spanish. Now we're gonna study French. Now we're gonna study German. Now we're gonna study English. And all of these things, they took the time to teach them. When a child is young, their mind is a sponge. So whatever they're subject to, they're gonna grasp it.
Right.
That's the reason they know how to work these iPads and iPhones, because when they're a baby, they see the light and we say, ooh, that light makes them quiet. I see babies 5, 6 months old doing they look barely can have a little finger, but they already swiping left and swiping right.
Know how to go to YouTube.
And they can't even. What's so funny though? They can't spell, but they know how to get to what they're trying to get to.
Yep.
And that's amazing to me. You know why? Because they're absorbing the knowledge. And what you don't understand, if they can learn that, then what can't they learn?
Right. Absolutely. Our youth are challenged, and we have more to talk about. One of the biggest of the challenges is materialism. And we know that our youth right now today, they feel materialized because everything they do, it has to be shown. Everything they say has to be shown. Am I right or am I? And it's hard for parents like me to understand that every time you do something, you want to show it on Facebook or social media. You want to let everybody know that
capture the moment. You can put it on.
Right. But it's a learning curve. Is it good? I don't know. Because I think that when they don't get the attention, when they're showing those things on social media, it leaves them depressed because they didn't get attention. We have again, this is our youth month, the month of August. We have so many subjects and topics to talk about. Feel free to inbox, feel free to leave your comments. Feel free to just let us know your thoughts so that we can continue to add on, because right now, as our youth are going into the start of the school year, we know they are troubled. We know that the enemy is out there because like ladies were saying, the devil is out there to kill, steal, and destroy. And if the parents don't know the gift that are in their children, then how can they help defeat the enemy as it continues to try to take them out? So we got to be amped up. We got to be ready as parents. We got to be watchful. We got to be resilient. We got to do all these things to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to encourage our youth, to encourage the youth that are around us, and to help build our community base, because the youth are needed before it gets too far.
Mhm.
because right now we know that as you said, the reading scores of our youth are way down, and that's horrible because if they can't, it's kind of like it's going in reverse.
Mhm.
But when they didn't have books to read from, now they have material, but they don't want to read.
That's
They just
right.
want to look at it.
Well, look at the pictures.
Look at the picture. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. But yes, we thank you. Got anything there, girl?
To all of Macomb students, I wish you guys the best year. Tomorrow starts the new school year. I wish you all the best year.
Me too.
Oh, South Pike, I totally forgot about you guys. Love you, but I'm a tiger now. No, I wish everybody the best year. To all the educators, I wish you all the best year. I hope everybody pours that knowledge out to these babies, and I hope the babies are just sponges and soak everything up so we can build these great, incredible people.
Yeah, absolutely. She brought it back in there about South Pike. She kind of gave South Pike
Right.
some love.
So
Love you, South Pike.
Lady Lisa.
I just want to say how good it feels just to be back. The month off, just I don't know. I just felt a void, but it's so good to be back. And I just hope and pray that we become those go-to people for our kids, because they are crying for that attention. They need love, just like we want it. They want it as well.
Absolutely.
It's just good to be back.
Absolutely. That's Sam.
God bless you all. Hopefully God has seen you in well, seen you doing well. Hopefully God will keep you. see you in well. Hopefully God will keep you, and I just pray that the blessings be all over your lives. Everybody that's watching, everybody that's attached to those that's watching, we just want to pray a blessing of peace, love, and happiness over your life.
Peace.
And
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
As I always say, encouragement to the soul as water is to a flower. You water it, watch it grow. Encouragement. We thank you. We love you. Until next time.
God bless you.